It's transfer portal time for Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes, and they are taking some big swings.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow, become an everydayer. My everydayers are the people who comment, they subscribe, they just chat it up with me. We have a lot of fun, and you don't want to miss out on the fun. So let's talk about the Colorado Buffaloes and the transfer portal. I've been hearing two major players that they're after right now, and I think both of them are a must for the Buffs, and I think I'll start with Jordan White. Obviously, I think he's the headliner of the two. He's ranked as a number 11 player in the portal. He's an interior offensive lineman who played at Liberty, and he's a guy who, for those not familiar with what Colorado had issues with last year, they had some issues with the offensive line now, and this year, they had some issues with the offensive line, specifically at the guard spot. I think the hardest part about Colorado's offensive line issues was that it was better than what it was last year, but it still wasn't good enough. And so a little bit about Jordan White, 6'2", 300-pound interior offensive lineman who initially began his career at West Virginia. He transferred to Liberty, was an all-conference USA center in 2023, and then played 11 games at left guard this past season. He graded out at an 81.4 according to PFF, which was sixth amongst interior offensive linemen who qualified for the snap count and stuff like that. The programs that are after him, though, it's not just Colorado. It's Michigan, it's Vandy, it's Miami, South Carolina, and a bunch of other players, I guess you could say, in his recruitment, because he is someone that a lot of programs want a guy who could plug in, play right away. A lot of programs want a guy who could be a center, a guard, whatever they need him to be. And for Colorado, I think I'd probably like him at probably guard. I really liked what I saw from Cash Cleveland. I know he's a walk-on. I know he may be a bit undersized or whatever, but he shows fight. He shows heart. And until I see a better center enter the fray, I feel like Cash Cleveland is the guy. And also, I think what would really help Colorado is aside of the whole entire line being able to block for the run game would be helpful. But realistically, say you line him up next to Jordan Seaton, right? And all of a sudden that left side is just your strong side for outside zones, or maybe you could run in between the tackles. Like Colorado needs a side, or they need they need a strength on the offensive line when it comes to the run game. The run game was hindered tremendously by the offensive line's inability to get a forward push. And I think a lot of people, when I talk about transfer portal needs, they view the running back as a major position of need for Colorado. And while I see why, right, they haven't gotten a ton of production, it's the offensive line that's the problem, right? Anthony Hankerson, who left, he was on Colorado's squad in 2023, right? He goes to Oregon State this year. And I think a lot of people kind of wrote him off. They were like, oh, he's one of the original Colorado players, blah, blah, blah. Like he ran for almost 1,200 yards this season. He ran for 1,082 yards, 15 touchdowns, 4.7 yards per carry. And he also had 27 catches for 150 yards. Same thing with Dylan Edwards, right? I know Dylan Edwards wasn't the featured back for Kansas State, but he still had a pretty productive season for the Wildcats. He had 56 carries for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6.3 yards per carry. In reference, he had 76 carries for Colorado the year before. He had 321 yards on 4.2 yards per carry and a touchdown. But he did have a lot more catches, I'll say that. But what I'm getting at is Colorado needs help on the offensive line, and this is where Mr. Smith comes into play, because obviously he's a guy that or Mr. White, Jordan White. I think I said Jordan Smith. Jordan White. That's where he comes into play, right? Big bodied, experienced, veteran presence that can help shore up this offensive line. Next, transfer portal target that Colorado's after is one that excites me a lot because, and I'll give you a little tease of it. He plays safety. He's going to come in right away, I think, start. And Colorado, one, you lose Cameron Simmons-Craig, who I think is one of the more underappreciated, underrated players in college football. He was the heart and soul of that defense, as said many times by anyone who's watched Colorado. And I'm pretty sure Coach Prime said it himself. Underrated, underappreciated, heart and soul of the defense, right? They also lose Shiloh Sanders. And while Shiloh Sanders, to be quite frank, had a horrendous stretch to finish the year, missed tackles, just not the guy that we expected him to be. 6-year senior, just not what we expected, right? So you're losing 2 starting safeties. They're both all conference caliber guys. Cameron Simmons-Craig was honorable mention. And you go out and you're in the mix for a safety who just finished his freshman year, CJ Hurd. He was a star at FAU, was a mid-season true freshman All-American, according to 24/7 Sports. He led FAU with 74 tackles through 10 games and a forced fumble. And then he also had a couple fumble recoveries and a pass breakup. He was their star guy for that defense. He had a coverage grade of a 69.3, so not the best, and an overall defensive grade of 70.8 as a freshman. But the FAU defense, they struggled mightily. There's a reason that FAU has a new coach, has a new regime coming into play, and I really liked what I saw from Hurd. And guess what? He's got a favorite quality of Coach Prime. Say it with me, folks. He's from Atlanta. He's from Georgia. He's from Florida. You know, Coach Prime loves him some Georgia, Florida kids. And this guy, 80 total tackles. I think, according to ESPN, I think their initial stories had it incorrect, but he made big plays, right? You look at 11 tackles against an Army team, 12 against UConn, 13 against UCF. He's a tackle machine. 5'11". I think he's very Cameron Simmons-Craig-ish to me. And obviously, if you could replace Cameron Simmons-Craig with maybe a better version of him, which I'm not saying that that's what this guy is, but maybe he could be that. Not a bad deal. So Colorado, 2 major targets, offensive line, safety. If you go to yesterday's episode, I did a live talking about which positions I valued the most. The offensive line was up there, and I think the safety was the secondary as a whole was my 3rd most important position that Colorado needs to target in the portal. So I like what they're doing in the portal so far. Obviously, excuse me, I'm getting the hiccups now. Obviously, they need to make some moves happen, but really, really positive to hear that they're after guys of this caliber, this talent. And when you have a winning season like Colorado just did, makes life a lot easier in the portal for someone like Coach Prime, who already was running the transfer portal as it was. When we come back, I'm going to be talking about the most annoying Heisman discussion ever, if you will. This episode of Locked on Buffs brought to you by Mint Mobile. Let me tell you about Mint Mobile. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. There, you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with the high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You could use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your own phone number along with all your existing contacts. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new month 3 premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's Mint Mobile, mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. It's $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and make sure to share this with a friend so that way we could see who, what, when, where, why is happening over here on Locked On Buffs, and that way you guys don't miss out. And that way you guys could talk with me, about me, hopefully nice things, and we could have some fun. Also, I want to get to 7,000 subscribers. We're close to 6,400. Let's get there, right? I appreciate the support that you guys give me. Okay, this narrative that needs to absolutely die, get shot into the sun, maybe get sent into the ocean in a capsule, fished out, shot into the sun before people beat it with a hammer. Is that Travis Hunter should not win the Heisman because he plays a lot of snaps and blah blah blah. He's mid at both positions, blah blah blah. Just stop, right? If you have to do mental gymnastics to sort of, how do I put it? To sort of make your case, you don't have a case. Travis Hunter, according to PFF, grades within the top 10 at both positions at wide receiver and corner. So he's not just average at both, right? He's a 1,000-yard receiver. He's a Blitnikoff finalist. Should have been a Thorpe Award finalist, but hey, they really screwed the pooch on that one. But hey, Coach Ryan's going to give him his, so it doesn't matter. He was a finalist for the Best Defensive Player of the Year award. He's a finalist for being the most versatile player in college football. Colorado has put Travis Hunter on display, and people are realizing how good he is. The only people who say he played, like the only reason he's getting hype because he plays a lot of snaps, are delusional. Maybe they're Ashton Jeanty homers. And I'm not saying Ashton Jeanty doesn't deserve honors, props. He does. Ashton Jeanty has had a hell of a career. Barry Sanders himself shouted him out today. And it's just one of those things where Ashton Jeanty had a great season. Like, you can't take away, and this is the part that annoys me about this finalist discussion, this Heisman discussion. It's the 1 year where there's not going to be a quarterback hoisting that award, right? Every year for the past 20 years, most of the time it's a quarterback, right? There's Derrick Henry, there's Devontae Smith. I'm sure there's a handful of other guys, but for the most part, it's a quarterback award. That being said, sorry you had to witness that ugly looking cough. Still under the weather. That being said, we do not need to degrade either candidate for what they've done because they've both put up historic seasons, right? Travis Hunter is posting stat lines that we have not seen since the guys were wearing leather helmets and missing games to prepare for World War II, right? Travis Hunter is dominating at both positions. You could compare him to Miles Jack, Dory Jackson, Champ Bailey, Charles Woodson, Deion Sanders, if you will. None of those guys have done what he is doing right now, right? He is dominating both positions at a high clip. Miles Jack was never, Jabril Peppers, another one. They were never the main guy at both positions. Miles Jack was a rotational piece at running back or rotational piece at linebacker, whatever it was. Adoree Jackson was a gadget guy. Jabril Peppers, gadget guy. Charles Woodson, I won't say he's a gadget guy. I'm not going to say that. But Charles Woodson didn't play both ways full time. Travis Hunter is doing just that. Ashton Jeanty, on the other hand, he's having a hell of a year as well. 2,200 yards rushing, 28 touchdowns, 7.3 yards per carry. I think he's like 400 yards away from breaking Barry Sanders' record. That deserves all the props in the world. And I hate to see this narrative of people tearing down Travis Hunter because they dislike Deion Sanders. You know that's what it is. And we're tearing down Travis Hunter to build up Ashton Jeanty. And then it leads to other people who love Travis Hunter. They're tearing down Ashton Jeanty because other people dislike Deion Sanders and Travis Hunter. There's no need to tear anyone down, okay? We could simply say, I think Travis Hunter is more deserving of the award because he is dominating at two positions and doing something that we have not seen, right? I think if Ashton Jeanty had continued his pace, to start the year where it was like, when you looked at his stats and it was like 200 yards, like these were his first 4 games. 226 yards, 169 yards, 159, 209, 149, 128, 217. So if he kept that up, right, I think maybe it stays intact. Or excuse me, those were his recent games. Let me read his actual first few games. His recent games were impressive too. 267, 192, 127, and he only played half that game. 259. He was averaging through the first like 5 weeks, 6 weeks, he's averaging like 10 yards a carry. If he kept that pace, I probably would have given him the edge. If he broke Barry Sanders' record in the regular season, it would have been hard not to give him the edge. But Travis Hunter persisted, battled through what looked like an injury in that Kansas State game. And I just think what he's doing right now is a little bit more impressive. Doesn't mean what Ashton Genty's not doing is impressive, but this whole narrative of Travis Hunter just plays a lot of snaps, we need to give him the award, is dumb, right? There's other guys who have played tons of snaps. They're not getting the award because guess what? They don't deserve the award. Travis Hunter is deserving of the award, and we need to stop with this foolishness and just stop. We don't need to tear other people down to build other people up. I'll just put it that way. When we come back, I'm going to be giving you my top 5 transfer portal targets that I think Colorado needs to go after. But first, a word from our sponsors. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. My everydayers, you know who you are. I appreciate you. Show would not be possible without you. Comment below if you're an everydayer, and let's have some fun. I'm going to be going over the guys that I think Colorado needs to target in the transfer portal, just because I think that they can make instant impacts, pick up where Colorado has left off at certain other positions, and go from there. And we'll number one guy, which I don't know. I feel like he may be Florida State lock simply because that's where their defensive coordinator ended up. But I mean, if you're Colorado, you got to at least try, right? You have to at least try to get talented pass rushers. And I think this guy could be that. Princewell Umanimelia. I'm saying it wrong. His name's Princewell, first name. I had it mastered off camera. I was like, I'm going to say it correctly. Missed it. He's the #1 player in the portal right now. Nebraska transfer. Had a down year this season. Just didn't have the production that they were expecting. Played in 8 games. We'll see if Colorado takes a swing on him. But the #1 guy or on the defense line that I think Colorado needs to at least try to go after, which he's currently crystal ball to Ole Miss, so we'll see. Shaheem Otis, defense lineman, Alabama, 6'5", 320. Colorado needs some beef. They need some physicality. They need some in the middle of in the defense line, right? You're losing Shane Cokes. Chidozie Nwankwo is a senior, I believe, and let me confirm that. I believe he's a senior. But obviously you're losing guys who I think for Colorado's sake really helped step up this defense, or really helped this defense step up, excuse me. And yeah, he's a senior. So you need some beef and some just dudes in the middle. At wide receiver, I think you got to make a move for Casey Concepcion. His real name's Kevin. Shout out. He's a guy that was a freshman All-American. Didn't have the best quarterback play with him this year at NC State, I think, and he's the #6 player in the portal. I think a lot of programs are going to be after him. It wouldn't shock me if like he hears from some of the biggest programs in the country, like Texas, Georgia, Alabama, whoever. But I do feel like it's worth going after him. So those are 3 guys that I think Colorado should go after. Another guy, and I think this is sort of building off of this like hey, we need to get guys that are proven or at least have some potential. You go to North Dakota State, you get your boy Cole Wisniewski. We played, obviously, Colorado played against him in the first game of the season. I think he'd be a great addition to the unit. 6'4", 218-pound safety. This season, he had 5 pass deflections and an interception. He also had 88 total tackles. So he's a tackling machine. You get him, I think it could be really interesting to see what he could do at the back end of that defense. I feel like he'd be a fun addition. And then lastly, I'm going to receiver, and I feel like actually I don't think I'm going to go receiver here. I'm going corner, Julian Humphrey, Georgia corner. He was a starter, started 10 games for the Bulldogs this year, ended up leaving the team. I don't think he left on the best of terms based on how Kirby Smart and other players were addressing it. But I think assuming there was no off the field issues that were too bad, I feel like everyone deserves a second chance. And I think Colorado obviously needs a replacement for Travis Hunter. And so why not go get a guy who has SEC experience? Now, these are big swings. I'm not going to deny that. I do think that Colorado will probably, I'll have another list. I'll probably go position by position as time moves on, because obviously the portal is open for the month. But I think that the more talent you bring in, the bigger swings you take, you're bound to hit on a couple. And I think Colorado, especially with this past season, like starting with Princely, right? He didn't produce a lot at Nebraska. Well, maybe he could come play for Warren Sapp, Robert Livingston, Coach Prime, and be like the next BJ Green, right? BJ Green, 7.5 sacks, all Big 12 honorable mention. Like it could happen, right? These guys could instantly make impacts for Colorado. And I think these are some of the players that I would like to see them target. I'll keep you guys updated on who they actually target, if they target any of my guys, and I'll continue to update this list as time goes on and the portal opens up, because the portal technically opens up December 9th. So it's really not even technically open, but guys are already starting to express their plans or intentions into the portal. So you guys comment below. Give me one player who you think Colorado should target in the transfer portal, and we'll compare contrast notes. This has been another episode of Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Kevin Borba. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend.